Hello all, welcome to our channel English Learners. In this video we are going to see about the play Arms and the Man by George Bernard Shaw. First let's see the background of this play. Arms and the Man is a famous play written by George Bernard Shaw, first performed in 1894. The story is set during the Serbo-Bulgarian War of 1885. Shaw used this real war as the background to make fun of how people in those days used to glorify war and think of soldiers as great heroes. He wanted to show that war is not as noble or glamorous as people believed. At that time, in the late 1800s, many social and political changes were happening in Europe. Socialism and Marxist ideas were becoming more popular, and the gap between the rich and the poor was increasing. In the world of literature and art, people were slowly moving away from Romanticism, which was all about emotions and idealism, and they were shifting towards Modernism, which focused more on real-life situations and practical thinking. Shaw was influenced by these changes. Through this play, he wanted to challenge society's blind beliefs about war, love, and heroism. His characters, especially Captain Bluntschli, who is a very practical and realistic soldier, are used to show the difference between real life and what people imagine it to be. Compared to him, Sergius, who acts like a grand hero, looks quite silly. Arms and the Man not only makes us laugh but also makes us think. It gives us a strong message about not blindly believing in romantic ideas about war and love. Even today, the themes of this play feel very relevant and meaningful. Let's see some information about the author. George Bernard Shaw was a well-known Irish writer, playwright, music critic, and political activist. He also played an important role in founding the London School of Economics. Shaw was born and educated in Dublin, Ireland. From a young age, he showed interest in socialism and social issues. He was deeply concerned about how the working class was being exploited by society, and this concern stayed with him throughout his life. He started writing plays in the 1890s, and his works always carried some message or criticism about society and culture. He was not just a playwright, but also a very active writer who wrote more than 50 plays, along with many essays, reviews, articles, and pamphlets. His fame started growing in the early 1900s, and soon he became a respected and celebrated figure in the literary world. In 1925, he was honored with the Nobel Prize in Literature for his remarkable contribution. He married Charlotte Payne Townshend, who was also an Irish political activist. They shared a happy married life until her death in 1943. Shaw passed away 7 years later in 1950 at the age of 94 in his home in England. Let's see the characters in this play. Raina Petkov is a 23-year-old Bulgarian girl and the main character of the play. She comes from a rich, high-class family and is engaged to Sergius, who everyone thinks is a big war hero. Raina behaves in a very dramatic and dreamy way, like how characters in romantic novels do. She always tries to act proper and graceful, thinking that's how a rich girl should behave. But when she meets Captain Bluntschli, her views slowly start changing. He is nothing like the ideal hero she imagined, yet she finds him interesting and starts falling for him. Later, she even admits that she behaves so dramatically not because she really feels that way, but because people admire her when she does. In the end, she breaks her engagement with Sergius and decides to be with Bluntschli. Captain Bluntschli. He is a Swiss soldier who fights on the Serbian side in the war. He is a very practical and down-to-earth man. Unlike Sergius and Raina, he doesn't believe in romantic ideas of bravery and war. In fact, he thinks war is more dirty and foolish than glorious. Instead of carrying bullets, he carries chocolates, which is why Raina affectionately calls him the chocolate cream soldier. Even though he seems very sensible, he does show his softer side, especially when Reina takes care of him. By the end of the play, he expresses his love for her and they decide to get together. Sergei Saranov. He is Reina's fiancé at the start of the play. He looks like the perfect hero. He is tall, handsome, rich, and talks in a charming way. Everyone sees him as a brave soldier, but actually, he is not that smart or skilled. His success in battle was just due to luck. Though he appears noble and classy, he secretly flirts with Lauka, the servant girl. In the end, he leaves Reina and gets engaged to Lauka instead. Lauka. She is a young and bold servant in the Petkov household. She is very pretty and full of confidence. Even though she is supposed to marry Nicola, the head servant, she doesn't want to remain in the servant class all her life. She speaks her mind and doesn't like being treated as inferior. At first, she resists Sergei's advances, thinking he is just playing with her. But later, she realizes he doesn't fully believe in his own high-class status either, and then she accepts his love. They end up getting engaged. Catherine Petkov. She is Reina's mother, a wealthy lady who is very proud of her family status. She is thrilled about Reina's engagement to Sergius because he seems like the perfect match. She doesn't realize that Sergius is not as noble as he pretends to be. She often treats the servants, especially Nicola, in a very unfair way and is very concerned about her family's reputation and class. But later, when she finds out that Bluntschli is rich too, she accepts him as a suitable match for her daughter. Major Petkov. He is Reina's father. He is a rich man and holds a military rank, but he doesn't really know much about war or military matters. He proudly shows off his library, but it's clear that he is not well read or very smart. Still, he is a kind and loving father. Even though he is a bit confused and old-fashioned, he supports Reina's choice to be with Bluntschli in the end. Nicola. He is the head servant in the Petkov family. He is very quiet, loyal, and never argues, even when he is treated unfairly. He strongly believes that being a servant is his duty and doesn't try to change his social status. He was supposed to marry Lauka, but when she falls in love with Sergius, Nicola steps back without creating a scene. He may not be flashy, but he is clever and practical in his own way. Let's see the act-wise summary of this play. Act 1. The play starts in a town in Bulgaria near the Dragoman Pass during the war in November 1885. A young woman named Reina Petkov is in her bedroom. Her room is nicely decorated and shows that her family is wealthy. There are even chocolate dreams on the dresser. Reina is looking out of the open window when her mother, Catherine, comes in and asks her to close it because it's cold. Catherine is happy and brings news that the Bulgarian-Russian army has won a major battle against the Serbians at Slivnica. She proudly says that Sergius, Reina's fiancé, led the cavalry in that victory. Reina is relieved and excited. She tells her mother that sometimes she doubted if the Bulgarians were as cultured as the Russians, as if soldiers were really as heroic as they are described in poetry. Catherine scolds her for having such thoughts, especially about Sergius. Then, their maid Lauka enters and warns them to lock all doors and windows because some Serbian soldiers are running away and might try to hide in nearby houses. Catherine goes to check the house, and before leaving, Lauka quietly tells Reina that one of the shutters doesn't lock properly. She can still hear the gunfire if she wants. Reina acts strict and scolds Lauka in front of others, but is clearly interested in what's happening outside. After some time, Reina hears the sound of gunfire coming closer. She gets panic, so she turns off the candle and lies down, but stays alert. Suddenly, the window shutters move, and a man quietly enters and lights a match. He is a Serbian soldier and tells her to stay silent or he will shoot. He doesn't look like any typical heroic soldier. He is tired and mostly focused on staying alive. He warns Reina that if the Bulgarian army finds him in her room while she is in her night dress, it could create a wrong impression. She understands. When she tries to get her cloak to cover herself, he takes it from her, not to hurt her, but to make sure she doesn't raise an alarm. Then they hear people approaching. Reina quickly hides a man behind a curtain. Catherine, Lauka, and a Bulgarian soldier come in to check the room as they think a Serbian might have entered the house. Reina confidently says no one is there, and they leave after checking. Lauka gives Reina a suspicious look before going. After they leave, the man comes out from hiding. Reina sees his pistol on the ottoman, that is, a type of cushion, and she gets scared. But he tells her it isn't loaded. He doesn't even carry extra bullets. He just carries chocolates in his pockets. He says this is common for experienced soldiers. Reina offers him chocolates, which he eats. They start talking about war. Reina proudly mentions Sergius' cavalry charge, but the man says it was actually a foolish and risky move. He explains that the only reason the Bulgarian army won was because the Serbian side had the wrong bullets, so their guns didn't work. Otherwise, Sergius' decision could have led to disaster. Reina is upset hearing this because she sees Sergius as a hero. The man says he doesn't want to cause trouble and he gets ready to leave, but Reina stops him because the soldiers will kill him. She says her family is known for helping others. She also talks a lot about how educated and clean her family is. The man quietly mentions that his father owns 6 hotels, but Reina doesn't notice the hint that he is from a good background too. She tells him to stay awake while she informs her mother. He agrees, but the moment she leaves, he falls asleep on her bed because he is so tired as he didn't sleep for the past 36 hours. When Catherine and Reina return, they see him sleeping. Catherine is shocked, but Reina asks her not to wake him. Act 2. Act 2 starts in March 1886, a few months after the war scenes in Act 1. The play is still the Petkovs' family house, but now the scene shifts to their garden. Nicola, the male servant, is talking to Lauka, the maid. Lauka is complaining about how Reina and Catherine treats her. Nicola tells her not to speak badly about the people they work for. During the conversation, we come to know that Nicola and Lauka are actually engaged, but Nicola is not too keen on marrying her unless she behaves like a proper servant. He says a servant should always be respectful, loyal, and know their place. But Lauka says she is not born to be a servant all her life, and that she knows some of the Petkov family's secrets and can even use them one day. Nicola warns her that a good servant should never reveal their master's secrets. He then tells that he is saving money to open a shop in Sofia, the capital city, and dreams of hiring Lauka to work with him. Suddenly, they hear a man's voice at the gate. It's Major Paul Petkov, Reina's father, returning home from war. Everyone rushes around to welcome him. Nicola and Lauka serve him coffee, alcohol, and cigarettes. Catherine comes in and warmly greets her husband. But when he says that the Bulgarians and Russians made peace with the Serbs, she is shocked. She wanted a full, glorious victory, but Petkov says practically it wasn't possible. Catherine proudly tells him about a new electric bell she installed so they don't have to shout for servants. But Petkov laughs it off as a silly idea. Before Sergius enters, Petkov tells Catherine to handle him carefully because Sergius is expecting a promotion. But Petkov feels he is not smart enough to get one. Sergius comes in like a proper hero, handsome and charming, but inside he is bitter. He says he has resigned from the army because even though his cavalry charge won the battle, the other officers mocked it for not following military rules. He is upset that bravery is not respected anymore. Petkov tries to calm him down, saying that being a soldier is just a job. Reina enters, greets both of them politely. Then Sergius and Petkov start telling a story about a Swiss soldier who tricked them into giving 200 tired horses in exchange for 50 fresh men. They say that this same soldier was helped by 2 Bulgarian women during his escape. This shocks Catherine and Reina because they realize the man they are talking about is Bluntschli, the one they secretly helped. But they hide their reaction and act normal. Catherine and Petkov leave, and Reina and Sergius are alone. Reina tells Sergius she loves him and can never stay angry with him. Sergius says the same, but the moment she leaves, he starts flirting with Lauka. He behaves as if he is still a hero, but clearly his actions don't match his words. Lauka wants him to be careful and tells him Reina is in love with another man. Sergius gets angry and asks who it is, but Lauka doesn't tell. He grabs her hand so hard that he leaves a bruise. Then he immediately apologizes. But Lauka says apologies mean nothing to servants. They have to obey whatever the rich say anyway. Reina walks in and jokingly asks if they were flirting. Sergius is embarrassed, and Reina says she was only kidding. Then Sergius goes to help Petkov with military plans, even though he is not that good at it. Catherine comes back and discusses the problem with Reina. They are both worried. If Sergius finds out that a man stayed in Reina's room, the engagement might break. Reina even sarcastically says it feels like her mother wants to marry Sergius more than she does, and then she leaves. Lauka returns and announces the arrival of Captain Bluntschli. Yes, the same Swiss soldier they helped. Catherine panics. He has come to return Petkov's coat, which Catherine had lent him while he was escaping. But before Catherine can hide him, Petkov and Sergius spot him from the window and come out to happily welcome him. They had met him during the war and had no idea he was the man Catherine and Reina helped. Reina enters, and without thinking, she calls him the chocolate cream soldier, which surprises the men and makes Bluntschli smile. To cover up, Reina makes up a lie, saying she was talking about a toy soldier meant for a dessert decoration which Nicola had spoiled. Then Nicola brings in Bluntschli's bag, which still has Petkov's coat inside. Catherine freezes, worried that if Petkov sees the coat, everything will come out. Catherine blames Nicola for bringing Bluntschli's bag without order. Petkov scolds Nicola for both spoiling the toy decoration and bringing the bag. Nicola remains silent, showing the proper attitude of a servant. Petkov, still unaware, invites Bluntschli to stay with them. Bluntschli, smiling quietly at the confusion, agrees. Catherine is left shocked and stressed. Act 3. The scene shifts to the library in the Petkov's house. Bluntschli is sitting with Sergius and Petkov, helping them plan troop movements. Both Sergius and Petkov are amazed at how smart and efficient Bluntschli is. Petkov suddenly remembers his old coat and starts asking where it went. He is wearing his parade coat, but he doesn't like it at all. Catherine says it's in the closet where he left it. But Petkov doesn't believe her and bets it's not there. Nicola brings the coat in, and Petkov is shocked. But Reina and Catherine already know that Bluntschli returned it that very morning. Then Petkov and Sergius go out. And finally, Reina and Bluntschli get some time alone. Reina tells him that he is looking much better now than when she first saw him. Bluntschli jokes that it's because he had time to clean up. Reina tries to get him to admit whether he told anyone the story about hiding in her room. He says he told just one trusted friend. But Reina says that friend actually spread the story to everyone, and now even Petkov and Sergius know it. This makes Bluntschli worried. Reina tells that they don't know who helped him. This makes Bluntschli feel little better. Reina tells him that if Sergius finds out that it was Bluntschli in her room, he might challenge him to a duel. Bluntschli says she should keep it a secret. But Reina is absurd. She says she's never lied in her life, except once. That is when she told the soldier that there was no one in her room. Bluntschli says it's okay because in his experience, people lie all the time to save themselves. He even says it's normal. Reina doesn't like this practical attitude and gets offended. But Bluntschli tells her to stop acting too proud and innocent. Reina is shocked. She says no man has ever spoke to her like that before. She says Bluntschli doesn't even take her seriously. But Bluntschli says he's actually the first one who does take her seriously. Bluntschli then admits that he is infatuated with Reina. Reina blushes and tells him that she had left a photo of herself for him in the coat he wore when he ran away from the house. She thought he would have found it, but Bluntschli says he never saw it. Then Reina realizes it must still be inside the coat her father is wearing now. Bluntschli thinks maybe it's not there anymore because he had actually pawned the coat to keep it safe during the war before getting it back. This really shocks Reina. At that moment, Lauka enters with a letter for Bluntschli. It says his father has passed away. But instead of getting emotional, Bluntschli is more bothered about all the work he will now have to do because his father ran a large chain of hotels. He decides to leave soon to handle all the matters. After Reina leaves, Nicola enters and finds Lauka alone. He notices that Lauka is hiding her bruised wrist under her sleeve. The bruise was from Sergius holding her tightly earlier. Nicola tells that Sergius gave him some money just to show off. Bluntschli also gave Nicola money to help him with the lie. Nicola tells Lauka to obey properly. Lauka tells him that he will only be everybody's servant in his own shop. Nicola disagrees it and tells that he will be the master. But Lauka continuously degrades Nicola. Nicola suggests Lauka to pretend as a good woman. Nicola tells Lauka that if she plays her cards right, she could marry someone from the upper class. He doesn't even mind to break their engagement. He is ready to help her if it benefits her. Then Sergius comes in and talks with Lauka. Lauka doubts his bravery. He says he was nervous in battle at first, but became brave quickly. Lauka says that if she were an empress, she would marry whoever she wants without worrying about class or society. Sergius assures that he has the courage to marry her, but she loves Reina. Lauka tests him by saying that Reina actually likes someone else. Sergius wants to know who, and Lauka tells him it's Bluntschli. Sergius says he is going to challenge Bluntschli for Reina's honor and assures that if his hands touch Lauka again, they will touch his affianced bride. It means that Sergius will accept Lauka as his bride. Sergius finds Bluntschli and challenges him to a duel. Bluntschli calmly says he is ready to fight if needed. Reina comes in just then. She is about to admit she loves Bluntschli, but Bluntschli suddenly says that Reina only helped him because he threatened her with a gun. He also says the friend he told about the incident is now dead. He was killed by Bulgarian soldiers. Reina and Sergius are disturbed by this. Sergius compares it to the pain of love. Reina annoyed and says she knows Sergius is flirting with Lauka. Sergius doesn't deny it. But when Reina tells him that Lauka is engaged to Nicola, Sergius gets agitated. Bluntschli asks him to calm down, but Sergius gets angrier, thinking Bluntschli is looking down on him. Then Sergius tries to insult Lauka, saying she's been spying and trying to use what she knows about the Petkovs. He asks Bluntschli to judge her character, but Bluntschli says he can't judge anyone because he himself has spied before in the war. He says people do whatever they need to do to survive. Petkov enters, again confused about his coat. He says someone has stretched it. Reina quickly takes her picture out of the pocket without anyone noticing. But Petkov says there was a photo inside. Now it's missing. He asks about it. Bluntschli confesses that the picture was for him. Raina's earlier lie about the chocolate dreams is also revealed. Bletchley admits that he was a Swiss soldier they helped during the war. Nicola enters and tells everyone that he no longer wants to marry Lauka. He says Lauka deserves someone higher in status. At this moment, Catherine walks in. Sergius immediately apologizes to Lauka and says he respects her. Bletchley offers Nicola a good job managing his hotels. Sergius holds Lauka. Lauka declares that Sergius' touch means they are officially engaged. Sergius happily agrees. Petkov and Catherine are shocked. Bletchley then says he has feelings for Raina but can't propose because he is middle-aged and she is too young. Raina then says she is not 17, she is actually 23. Bletchley immediately proposes. Petkov and Catherine hesitate at the beginning, but later okay with it. After they learn that Bletchley is super rich, owns more horses and land than they do. Everyone is happy. Bletchley says he will return after settling his father's estate. He even tells Sergius to wait until then so they can all celebrate their weddings together. The play ends with Sergius admiring Bletchley, saying, "What a man, what a man." Let's see the themes in this play. Ignorance versus knowledge, or romanticism versus realism. We can take either of this topic. One of the biggest themes in Arms and the Man is the difference between romantic ideas and realistic thinking. Raina and Sergius both live in a fantasy world. They think war is all about bravery and honor, just like in storybooks. But Bletchley, a practical Swiss soldier, shows them that war is not like that at all. He talks about hunger, fear, and how soldiers just want to survive. Slowly, Raina and Sergius realize that their ideas were just childish dreams. They begin to see things more clearly when they gain real knowledge. The realities of war. In this play, Shaw wants to break the audience's romantic image of war. Raina and her mother imagine war as something grand, full of brave officers in shining uniforms. But the reality is very different. Right in the beginning, we see soldiers killing each other even in peaceful places. Bletchley, who has actually been fighting, talks about the terrible conditions. No food, no rest, just fear and confusion. Even Sergius, who once looked like a war hero, admits that his so-called brave action was just a lucky mistake. This shows us that war is not about glory, it's mostly about survival and suffering. The realities of love. Just like war, love is also misunderstood by Raina and Sergius. They think love should be poetic, full of higher emotions and dramatic words. But in truth, they are not even comfortable with each other. They are only acting according to what society expects. Real love, we see, happens between Raina and Bletchley and between Sergius and Lauka. These couples understand each other. They are honest and they don't pretend. So, Shaw is saying that love is not about flowery talk or social status. It's about real connection and honesty. Incompetent authority. This play also makes fun of people who have power but no real ability. Major Petkov is supposed to be a respected military man, but most of the time he doesn't even understand what's going on. Sergius looks like a hero, but he is actually a fool when it comes to the real war strategy. On the other hand, Lauka, who is just a servant, is smart and confident. She controls Sergius with her boldness. Even Catherine, Raina's mother, controls her husband easily. So, the play shows that power doesn't always come from position. Real power comes from intelligence and courage. Class and social mobility. Class is another strong theme here. The Petkovs are always trying to show their high-class lifestyle, but Shaw clearly shows how silly and fake it is. They brag about having a library, but it's just one shelf of books. Raina wears fancy clothes from Vienna, but they don't suit her. In contrast, Lauka challenges her low status and dreams of a better life. she doesn't want to stay a servant forever. And in the end, she actually gets engaged to Sergius, showing that wit and confidence can help someone move up in society. Showing that wit and confidence can help someone move up in society, even in a rigid class system. Bravery. The play gives us a very different idea of bravery. At first, Sergius thinks bravery means doing something heroic and dramatic, like leading a dangerous cavalry charge. But later, he realizes that such actions don't always mean courage. Sometimes they are just foolish risks. Lauka gives us a new definition of bravery. She says it's brave to live your truth even when society looks down on you. Bluntschli also breaks the usual image of a brave soldier. He doesn't act like a hero, but he is calm, smart, and survives. That too is a form of bravery. Personal honesty. At the heart of the play is the idea that people must be honest with themselves. Raina and Sergius start the play pretending to be something they are not. Noble, poetic, and perfect. But they are actually unhappy. When they finally admit their true feelings, Raina for Bluntschli and Sergius for Lauka, they find peace and happiness. Even Bluntschli, who seemed all practical and emotionless, finally confesses his love. So, in the end, it's only when everyone drops the fake behavior and accepts their real emotions that things will fall into place. That's all about Arms and the Man. Hope you found this helpful. Do like, share and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching.